Hey, it's Ed Pugh, guys. Thanks for listening to yet another episode of the Kings in Queen City podcast. Guys, before we jump in to the meat of our conversation today, I wanted to invite you, if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're about 12 subscribers short of a target that we have that's going to unlock a couple more features for us. So definitely, even if it's just to humor us, check us out on youtube.com and search for Kings in Queen City.
Awesome, Ed. Thanks for that. So today we're going to talk about how having the right team members and having the right people around you that support your vision is so important. We experienced that really heavily this weekend when we were at our Ocean Isle meetup. Ed, how would you classify that event?
Definitely a great opportunity to get together with people who we refer to as our friends and family, and an ability to spend time with individuals who have similar goals. They're learning to have similar mindsets and taking amazing action in their business and private lives to improve the direction for them and their families. So Taylor, just to step back a little before that though, some people may not know that we're mentoring with a group called The Kingdom Real Estate. So just for those of you who are out there, Taylor and I are active mentors in a real estate group, although it's a little broad to call it a real estate group, but with a real estate group called The Kingdom Real Estate. And they had a huge event this past weekend where we flew about 40 of us into Ocean Isle, North Carolina, and we rented a mansion on the beach, and we all got to kind of talk into each other's lives.
Ed, I don't know if you'd call it a mansion. I mean, it only slept 35 people, and there were 10 bathrooms. So, I mean, it walked out right on the beach. There was a heated pool. Yeah, I guess we'll use the term mansion.
I guess it was a mansion. Now, in fairness, the videographer did use a drone to capture images from the mansion. So it was pretty great. It was really pretty neat, guys.
Quick side caveat. Buying a drone is definitely now on mine and Ed's marketing. It will be expensed out this year. The business is definitely picking one of those up.
You know, the podcast needs one, right, Taylor? All of our very creative shot.
Can we set that drone on hover in the podcast studio?
That would be epic.
I know there's someone listening who's a drone professional. If you're a drone professional, is it possible for us to put a drone on hover in a room that's 12 by 8? Let us know. Hit us up in the socials.
Absolutely. That'd be really great. But certainly coming out of that event where we had an opportunity to share so much time with folks who are in the direction of where we're trying to go with our lives, or conversely, we're in the direction of where they're trying to go with theirs, gives us a little perspective of why these elements are so important in our lives. And I think what it helps illustrate and identify is there may be individuals who are friends and family who we spend the most amount of time with. And in some cases, even when those individuals are well-meaning, they may not be building us up in the way that's appropriate so that we can eventually reach the goals that we've set for ourselves.
Ed, you're absolutely right. There's a bunch of people that related stories to us about how friends and family who, well, meaning well, had made suggestions along the line of, why don't you just go out and get a good job? This is not guaranteed money. People have lost their money doing this. People have gone bankrupt. You're stealing from people. I've heard that. By assisting people in these bad situations, you're not being fair to them. And the flip side of that is they don't understand, well, if we didn't do it, who would?
Right.
And so being around these like-minded people that understood where we're going, understand the value of what we bring to the marketplace, understand the creativity that's required is really huge.
I think that's one of the elements, and it's interesting that Carl touched on that again. But one of the elements I came out of this weekend understanding is that the more creative we can be in our business, the further our business is going to go.
For sure. Carl talked last week about him trading a VW and $1,000 for a Subway store. I tell you what, anyone in the country, find me that deal. I'll fund that.
We'll go buy was it a VW or a Volvo station wagon? I can't remember.
I thought it was a Volkswagen.
Maybe it was a Volkswagen station wagon. We'll gladly trade a Volkswagen station wagon and $1,000 for a Subway franchise. Just let us know, guys. We're in the market.
I'd gladly pay you Tuesday for a Subway sandwich today. I absolutely just put my age on the podcast right there.
We're showing our age.
Somebody's going to miss the wimpy reference, but that'll be okay.
So Taylor, reining us back in real quick, as you look at your life, as I look at my life, we may not have always had, and we may not still have the most robust group of people around us as we might like to have. And there's probably listeners out there who are looking at themselves and saying, I just don't really have that support system in place. What are things that you did early on and maybe still do to try and reach out to and grow that sphere of influence in your life?
Ed, that's a great question. When we started out, I had the advantage that we've talked about this. Ed is my twin brother, and so I have a huge support system in that alone. Some people aren't going to have these support systems in their life. The reason I started going to local networking events and started becoming active in these different meetups and investor meetings is that a lot of you listening, you're the only support system you have. When you go out to your meeting, you network with like-minded individuals, and then you turn around and you go home and you have family that downplays what you're doing by saying, oh, you were at that real estate thing again. Oh, you're just buying a second house. Not realizing that for most of us, real estate is something we're extremely passionate about and is extremely important to what we do and more important to who we are. And so to me, being that support system for someone else that doesn't have that is of huge importance to my life and who I am as a person on the inside. So when we have people reach out to us and say, you know, the fact that you were able to speak into my life, the fact that you took time to sit and talk to me about X, Y, Z, and a lot of times it's not even real estate related, right? It's just being the sounding board to be there when people need you is huge.
And it's interesting, Taylor. For us, the way we think about it, or how we've evolved to think about our business, is real estate is just one of the levers that we choose to exercise in reaching towards actively being an example of our mindset. Maybe I'm getting too philosophical there, but again, real estate is just one of the levers we choose to pull to manifest the things that we see in our mindset.
Well, Ed, I mean, we do real estate and businesses and now podcasting and content creation and mentoring. So pegging us down to just being like, oh, you're just one thing isn't true. And this applies to everyone listening. No one listening is just a real estate investor or just a podcaster or just a Facebook friend. You're a multidimensional person. And so defining yourself as just one type of individual isn't accurate. That's why we're here to help support those other versions of you. In fact, sometimes it's even like family, right? Because your family understands that I remember so-and-so from when they were younger. And in fact, I had a picture pop up today on the Facebook on this day, right? And it was me 5 years ago. And I'm looking at that kid from 5 years ago and like, man, how times have changed. How different am I from then, even today? How different am I from yesterday? These people that are giving their opinion of who they think you should be, they're giving the opinion of who they think you were. I need you to be who you can be internally. And I know I'm kind of getting, again, philosophical on this. I'm not meaning to, but to answer the question full circle is the reason we do what we do is because it allows us to speak into other people's lives, the positivity that is sometimes missing. We talk about there's the choice to be a tugboat or a lighthouse in this life. The tugboat is someone that recognizes there's an issue, and they're going to go out and they're going to grab that one other boat, that one other person that's having an issue, and they're going to drag them into the harbor, kicking and screaming to safety. What we say is that we practice our life as a lighthouse. I project my positive energy out as far as it will reach. And some boats are going to see that positivity, and they're going to turn towards us and recognize the safety of the harbor that we provide and the mindset that we are trying to give away. Other boats are going to see the light and say, no, I'm good. I'm okay where I'm at. And you know what? I'm okay with them being there. I don't need to go rescue them. But I do need to recognize that I'm also not chasing them down. I'm going to stand firm. I'm going to believe in what I believe. I'm going to broadcast my message as far and wide as I can. And that's just going to have to be enough.
And the interesting thing about that analogy, Taylor, is that the tugboat's only allowed to help one person at a time. And the individual who acts more like a lighthouse is able to help a lot of individuals at any given moment.
100%. That tugboat's going to get back from helping that individual. It's going to have to refuel and it's exhausted. It's only been able to help one person. I'm going to continue to perform as a lighthouse and to draw in as many people as want to make the change. And those that don't, that's okay. This goes for our friends and family who mean well, but they remember us from who we were, and we're just not there anymore.
It's interesting too. A lot of times people who are well-meaning and give that same guidance, Taylor, that you talked about earlier of why don't you go get a good job or a stable job, or why don't you avoid the risks? they're talking a lot of times from their own insecurities. And what we've decided to do is, in spite of insecurities, go out and chase the goals, right? Go out and chase, quote unquote, the dream. There's still work to be done, of course, as we chase that, but it certainly is a fulfilling path to be on.
Ed, so now that we've talked about kind of the mindset behind how we got started and why we travel on this path and the journey that we're on, we had our meetup event here in Charlotte on Thursday. We also had the mastermind in Ocean Isle. What are some takeaways from that event, and how does that affect you kind of moving forward? How do you strategize to do it again? How do you continue to speak into people's lives?
This past weekend was such a blessing for us. It started Thursday with a meetup in our local market. We hosted the Exchange Real Estate Networking Meetup, had a blast. A lot of our friends from the local market showed up, got to just spend time with them and talk about what they were working on, encouraged some young investors who were just getting started, met a bunch of our investors who are more experienced. It was just really a neat opportunity. Had a really great time. Definitely, Taylor, we're looking forward to the next event. Folks, if you're in the local Charlotte market or can be in the local Charlotte market, definitely like our Kings in Queen City Facebook group, and you'll see the next event loaded on there. We're definitely excited to continue to bring this type of event into the market, as we believe it's a little bit unique. You can see a video of this on our Facebook group and understand a little bit what we mean there. But Taylor, then moving on from that, then we got to go and spend the weekend in Ocean Isle with our The Kingdom Real Estate family. Then we got to mentor along the side of three of our really great friends. For those of you listening, definitely check out, each of them have podcasts and Facebook groups and all of that. It's our friend Jordan Stanley Payne, Todd Fleming, and Tyler Sheff. Spending time with the three of them, along with Taylor and I, talking into people's lives was really a great opportunity for us and an absolute blessing and joy to see friends of ours who are following the journey that we're setting. And again, there was over 30 of them, to see them laughing together, literally crying together, strategizing, connecting. All of this was one of the most powerful things about that event.
Well, it's barbecuing together, having breakfast together, figuring out where we're going to get lunch together. Where can we go for lunch that's going to seat 30 people? This is a real problem.
In Ocean Isle, North Carolina, that has like 3 restaurants.
We literally walked into one of the restaurants, and we had come up in individual groups, but by default, the whole group ended up there and literally took over the restaurant. They were very efficient. Shout out to anyone that was in Ocean Isle and took care of our group. You guys were phenomenal. So, Ed, that was a lot of fun, and we had a good time. What are some of your standouts now that we're, a few days out and you've had time to reflect on it? What were really the powerful drivers for you? Maybe the favorite experience, kind of a learning for you, and then a favorite, maybe a student experience as well. What were those for you?
So, Taylor, we were talking about our friend Tyler Sheff was there. Tyler did a great job on a presentation about the cash flow quadrant. He shared some of the legacy of that concept and really broke it down in a way that was really understandable. And for me, as far as my personal learning, that was probably my favorite breakout session. It was an opportunity for me to, again, be reminded why the relationship with our private money lenders is so important and the different ways that we can add value to them in return for capital that they may have available that might be underperforming. From the mentoring point of view, Taylor, where I got to speak into someone's life, for the second time, I got to do kind of our closing of our event. I got to do it at one before, and I got to do it at the Ocean Isle event. And I kind of think about that like our closing argument. If you walk away from this event and you haven't heard this topic, and this topic, these are the core elements that I think are really essential for you to walk away from. And I got to do that. So I presented my case, right, Taylor? I presented my case. I walked through it. Then I invited individuals to take just a moment. We all kind of stood up together, and we mentally went to the effort of identifying one of the obstacles in our life to our business. And I really made people think about it. And I took a lot of effort to be very specific about the time that we took to do this. And we took a couple of minutes and we all stood up. We quietly identified one thing that was in our life that was really holding back our business. Taylor, and one of the things that was interesting is once each of the attendees had identified an obstacle and had mentally removed it and pushed it away, I saw all of them sit down and they all looked up at me, and the whole room, and this is true without exception, all 30 of them looked happier, looked less stressed, looked more focused. And you could see it not just like in anything other than like their eyes glowed more. You know, there was just more energy in what they were doing. And that was a moment where I sat back, even in the moment, and just went, that was powerful. That was a really neat experience for me.
Something else interesting you did, Ed, was you had everyone put their cell phones down. That was such an awesome move, where in today's day and age, you know, my cell phone is next to me 18 hours of the day. It's within arm's reach at all time.
Including right now, Taylor. Both of our cell phones are sitting right next to us.
From the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep, it's going to be within arm's reach. And even when I'm asleep, it's still within arm's reach. It's right there.
Absolutely.
And so the thought of, hey, if everyone will put their cell phones down on the other side of the room and just leave them there, and then being able to have someone's undivided full attention is huge.
That was really neat. I have to be honest, I stole like an artist in that case. My good friend Tyler Sheff actually kind of in passing, more joking than anything, mentioned it. And I certainly thought, hey, that would be really neat. You know, during the different various sessions, we allowed the cell phones to be available and folks to take notes and pictures as they wanted. But in what I kind of considered our closing arguments, you know, a couple moments where we were going to be able to really talk into people's lives, I thought it was appropriate to ask them to put their phones on the counter across the room. And folks, thankfully, felt comfortable with doing that and trusted us. That was a neat moment. I agree with you.
I'll be honest. I expected you to have some feedback like, well, but why? And to the person, not one person questioned your motives. It was really spectacular to see.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. So Taylor, then kind of flipping that script, as you think about, you know, you had the same opportunity to spend time with people and to talk into people's lives. You and our good friend Todd Fleming hosted a breakout session and got to share experiences and then talk to people offline. Is there a certain experience that you can think about, either from a learning that you took or something you were able to share a moment with someone where it was really valuable for you?
I'm looking to get that one additional item, that one additional nugget of knowledge I can take home. And fortunately for me, being around my all-star mentoring partners, Ed and Todd and Tyler and Jordan, it's hard to go to lunch without us gaining a little nugget of knowledge. Being around them for so long was extremely motivational to me. Todd hosted a standalone breakout session about finances, and watching people's eyes light up as he described the simplistic method that he uses to set people financially free was literally life-changing to watch.
And if you guys want to learn a little bit more about that specific approach, Todd has a Facebook group. It's called The Power of Finance. Definitely check that out. It's a free group to join. You can learn a good bit about this approach in that group.
That was really a powerful experience for me. The flip side of that, I think just being able to speak into people's lives, when we interact with people across Facebook, we have a perceived opinion about how they present themselves. And text is not the most expressive form of communication, which is a reason that video and podcasts like this are becoming so successful. Being able to see people in person, talk through real life issues with them, laugh with them, listen to music, talk about favorite movies, play Cashflow 101, these type of things that you just cannot do across the internet was really the highlight of my trip.
I think it was powerful, Taylor, to be able to just see individuals, give them a hug, and just say, I believe in you. I believe your family deserves better. Go out and prove me right.
To full circle this, some people don't have that at home. The ability to have one person that says, no matter what, I believe you can do this. And to be able to speak that into people's lives and to reinforce the, I know what you're going through is tough, and I know that it's difficult, and I know that you don't have the support, and I know that you're new, and I know that you don't have the knowledge, but none of that matters. And if you just follow the steps, you'll be successful. I spoke to one specific attendee, and I used a really cool metaphor that I'll probably use from now on. How many of us have turned on our GPS in the last 48 hours?
Most of the listening audience.
Everyone. In fact, most of you have it going on in the background right now.
please turn left. All right, guys, I'm kidding. Don't turn left.
Make a U-turn. Make a U-turn. Most of us have GPSs. And when we load our GPS, all I do is I type in the address I want to go to. And I say, how do I get there? My GPS maps out the whole entire situation from leaving Charlotte to getting to Ocean Isle, right? That's a 3-hour trip. Nowhere when I push my GPS did I look at the last turn note and say, oh, look at that. I make a right onto 123 First Street. All I care about is 3 steps in. How do I get to the first 3 steps? And then from there, you're just going step by step. So the analogy here, guys, is I don't need you to know the whole entire roadmap for you to be successful in whatever endeavor you're doing. What I need you to see is the first 3 steps, and I need you to take that advice from someone who's already traveled that road and just take the first 3 steps and take action on the first 3 steps. And when you're done with that, go back to your guidance system. In this case, we're talking about the mentors in the kingdom, but go back to your guidance system and ask, okay, what direction is next? I've completed the first 3 steps. Where do I make the next left? And it was really powerful to see how he connected and how he understood where we were going and what we were doing.
Taylor, for you and I, we're kind of coming off this high of we got to spend time with people who are our sphere of influence, which was awesome. But for the listener who's out there, they may not have direct access to the kingdom real estate. They may not have direct access to people like this. And I think what we would encourage you to do is to find those individuals who are traveling the road, right, Taylor, to keep your analogy alive, traveling the road that you plan to travel and start asking them for directions, metaphorically hitchhiking with them.
So for me, that was really one of the most powerful experiences, being around all of our friends and family and enjoying our time with them and being able to speak into their lives, being the lighthouse we spoke about, was such a powerful experience. And I know we joke about, well, you know, they've got a really great experience out of us. But if I had to be honest, and I hope none of them are listening, so everyone that was there, just pause it real quick. If I had to be honest, guys, it was powerful for us. The mentors, the high and the rush that you give us by giving us permission to speak into your life is absolutely massive. And I can't thank you enough for giving us the opportunity and the life that we lead.
Yeah. And one of the neat things, Taylor, for me, I know you gave me a chance to name 2 and now I'm naming another one, but one of the neat things that was powerful for me is if you look to the group of people who was in Ocean Isle, they were a pretty diverse group, right? If you saw them all sitting in a bar together or at a baseball game together, it might kind of lead you to a question, well, what do these folks all have in common? And what's really neat is for all of those differences, their hearts are all leading in the same way.
Ed, you're absolutely right. We had a number of married couples that were there. We had individuals that were there by themselves without a spouse. We had parents. Our youngest was 19, and our oldest member is actually looking to buy a elderly mobile home park because that's kind of their age bracket. So we had this huge diverse group of people, and on the surface, you wouldn't know how they all related together. Real estate and the power of the internet, and guys, the power of Facebook brought this all together. And the world that we live in is just phenomenal. One of our students lives in Australia, guys. And when I travel there next year, I'm going to get an opportunity to meet my student in Australia. And I'm so excited about it.
What a blessing it is to know that whatever your group happens to be, whatever your tribe looks like, you can find them. We no longer live in a society where if there's not someone with my specific interest that lives down the street from me, I'm alone. We live in a society where you can go on Instagram, you can go on Facebook, you can go on YouTube, you can go on Twitter, you can go on any one of these other sites and find people who are passionate about what you're passionate about. And what we would encourage you to do is to seek out those people and allow yourself to embrace what you're passionate about. What does your tribe look like? Even if naturally within your city, within your family, within your church group, within your employer, these people aren't present, you can generate and create your tribe in today's day and age in a way you never could before.
And Ed, we've talked about in our market, we did that. We co-founded one of the largest real estate meetups in the Charlotte market because we found there was a need that wasn't being met.
Absolutely. And it's interesting now, Taylor, to look back and see not only is there that meetup, but there's 4, 6, 7 other meetups that have grown out of that same need, the same response that we identified. And it's really neat to see that. And so now here we are coming full circle to say, okay, that need, and it's really the education need, is being pretty well met in our market today, locally at least. And if it's not being, by the way, if it's not being met in your market, I encourage you to step up and start providing a solution that does meet it in your market. But that brings us to why we've now started The Exchange Real Estate Networking Meetup. And it's that while we believe that the education requirement for people within our industry is being met, we're not as comfortable to say that folks are taking advantage of the opportunities that they have to simply network with each other, talk to others in the field, and understand how they can work together in a collaborative way. And that's what I think is going to set apart the next step of innovation of what we're leading in our local market.
Ed, I love that you identified exactly kind of our thought process as we approach these problems and just identifying where the deficiency is and then figuring out how to solve that deficiency. For us, it was a specific network-only event in our market. We didn't feel that there was one that was currently taking that niche, offering that opportunity. The response we got was way bigger than I expected.
Yeah, I definitely expected you, me, a handful of other people, throwing popcorn at each other across the venue where we were hosting it. What I was impressed with is we had just a whole large amount of people filling the space, networking with each other. In fact, we went a lot later than we'd expected to go, just because people were so excited about having a space where they could talk to each other about their businesses in a very productive way. So if you guys do want to see a video about The Exchange, check out our Facebook page, the Kings and Queens City Facebook page.
I believe you talked to the owner and he made a statement that was the busiest Thursday night that he had in some period of time.
Yeah, he said it's one of their busiest in a long time. We definitely were able to encourage a lot of business for them, which is fun too. And they're, by the way, a small business, loves supporting the local small businesses when possible. So guys, one of the things that I think we've talked effectively about in this podcast and that we hope you take away is you need to, in your business, find a way to create your tribe. Find groups of people who you can network with, or if that's not available, create that space. We did it originally with the meetup group that we were supporting in our local market. We've done it through the growth of The Kingdom Real Estate. We've done it with the launch of The Exchange Real Estate Networking Meetup. And so what I think we're trying to encourage you to do is find your tribe and allow them to speak into your life in a way that moves your business forward in a very positive way. And if you don't have someone you can follow, reach out across the internets and find them. You are not alone. There are people who are passionate about whatever you are passionate about. Taylor, when we were at the podcasting conference down in Orlando, there was a guy, his whole podcast was about tropical plants. He was passionate about tropical plants. It's not, and I don't mean to belittle that. I think it's very interesting, but it's not anything that I would ever have an active interest in a major way. And he's doing a very specialized discussion on these topics regularly.
There were people that talked about horses on a regular. There were people that talked about technology. So to bring it to where you're talking about it, there are people in your tribe, and I need you to reach out and find them.
Absolutely.
Reach out and find your tribe. You can find our tribe on the social media, Kings and Queens City. We're on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Look forward to interacting with you, giving that guidance if you need it, and then helping you along your journey. Looking for more members of our tribe, please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Take care, guys.